Friday, August 22, the end of the third week in August. Next week is the last full week. And August, we start out with this is, of course, market analysis. I'm Stan Ehrlich. We started with stock market indexes and go to futures. And then I've got a few stocks that I'm following: Tesla, NVIDIA, a couple others that people have asked me to analyze and follow. And if you're interested, email me at info@ersignals.com. Now, there's also a special report, extensive research, lots of graphics of the upcoming, I expect, October lows. I still expect that to happen. Despite today's very large, big rally, by surprise, the Fed did, if you haven't heard already, indicate during a lecture in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, that they were looking to potentially lower interest rates next month. They didn't say how much. We're going to assume a quarter of a point. Now, because he said that, Powell, today, by surprise, the rally that you see today, which was about 10 points, very substantial, not to be taken lightly. But it just got back up to the same highs we saw a week ago. There was no new high close. There was no new high for the whole trend here on the E-mini, or actually the MES. That's right, the micro E-mini. And I've got no indication indication that we're going to be screaming in a new high ground. And a matter of fact, now that he said something by surprise, and it's now permeated into the market, and for the last few hours of the day, the market didn't have any upside follow-through after the first announcement, announcement, and then maybe an hour later, a little bit new highs. It went sideways. It even drifted a little lower. So you have to think that next month, a 0.25% gain is already in the market now, because of what Powell said. Now, double top possibilities up against a major resistance line. No higher high, no new high close, just a very sharp rally, totally unexpected, but it doesn't change the bigger picture. I still think the markets are about to be topping out. There's the Powell announcement on the 5-minute chart. There's a little bit more follow through. As you can see, it didn't make it into new high ground completely or at all, but it came darn close. And then we went back and forth and pretty much settled out going flat after the announcement. Now, a little bit different situation with the spider. I think we did make new historic highs by a couple of ticks, but it wasn't significant, and it didn't stay there, and it did slip back and close a little off the highs, which could mean resistance is stopping the rally. Next, nowhere near new highs on the QQQ. Sharp rally, didn't stay at the top, no change of opinion. I am looking for the lows that we had on Wednesday to be taken out next week. I've got to say that. Next, 5-minute chart. Nice pop up because of Powell. That's the Powell pop. So after that, started to work its way sideways. Next chart is the NQ, which is the NASDAQ futures. Outside up day, that is correct. But we did not have an outside up day on the QQQ. We did not have an outside up day in the spider. And we just barely had an outside up day on the ES futures contract. Going back to the NASDAQ, outside up day, 5-minute chart. So it managed early in the middle of the night to get a little lower than yesterday's low. Next, we have a new overbought condition today in the Dow, which is still a bit of a distance, a lot less from all-time historic highs that were made way back in November, December, and in January, where we did get a bearish signal, ER sell signal, on the exact high day, January 31st, and it went down so much. Then we got a buy signal almost on the low day, green, and look how much it's gone up. Now, there was a sell signal. It didn't work very well, very, very slightly, if at all. Well, let's call it a small loss. And now it's overbought again. I know it's a new high and a new high close by a chunk for the last couple of months. But I'm looking at the resistance again back in February and back in November, December. And now we're overbought. I probably should, and I will right now, put a little zone in there. From the high right there across the second high in January. Oh, wow. We are right up against the high made in January today. And that was exactly January 31st. Same thing, expecting it to roll over. My real bearish downside breakout is going to be under the low, closing under the low of the beginning of this month, August 1st. Doesn't look likely to most people because of the substantial strength. Trend is up, new highs, but there always, always, always is a high day or a low day. And those days normally don't look bad to most people. Resistance overbought. One of my bearish combinations. Next, 5-minute chart. Got up, stayed up, went up some more, and slipped off a little bit late in the day. Next, also as you would expect in the Russell, remember the Dow and the Russell have some similarities, but they're not acting at all like the E-mini or the NASDAQ. They're acting similarly, but the Russell and the Dow are acting similarly, but not the same as the other two. New high close, and overbought in a major, huge, wide resistance area where the Russell has topped out many times over a very long periods of time. This is going back 4 years, back to this large trading range. That's why I isolated this large resistance area. I think I can remove some of these markings now. Old pennant, leave that alone. That's no good anymore. That definitely is good. And we're right there, right now, right across these highs. Probably even could drag that to the left a little bit more. Yeah, that's still good. So, resistance, overbought. Watch out. Russell. Oh, by the way, nobody was expecting Powell to say what he said. Anyway, that's why we use protective stops. Now, I know the stop may have gotten a bad fill because of a fast market condition, but you probably, if the stop was reasonable, got out a lot lower than the high of the rally. And, of course, you had opportunities to get short again if you chose to. Most people will be shell-shocked and just walk away for the day. That would be the normal result. Okay, still expecting toppy market situation. Next. Bonds rallied very nicely today. Doesn't really mean too much to me. I can't isolate anything. I'm a little perplexed lately for interest rate futures. I basically expected to go sideways to lower slowly, back and forth. But obviously Powell said he was going to lower rates, and we got a rally out of bonds. Because the higher the bonds go, futures contract, the lower rates go. I wouldn't call that particularly dramatic, and we're still very middle of the range for RSI. No breakouts. Next, the 10-year notes bottomed out in support. A rally was not totally unexpected, even though they closed poorly yesterday. So, no upside breakout, back up to resistance, sideways to lower. That's the best I can say. Crude, a little more rally out of support, coming up a little bit more. I was talking friendly in crude yesterday. Support in oversold conditions. Did the job. This is a new high and a new high close for a couple of weeks. Pretty interesting. Not super bullish, but it is turning around in a major support area. So I am optimistic we have more of a rally, and that rally could very well get up to 68.5. Next, natural gas is continuing to work lower, just like I've been talking about for a long, long time, months. We have a new low and a new low close today again. We got this thing caterpillaring, slowly crawling down. Nothing major. no violence, just keep making lower lows every several days or sooner. The downside objective is 1.1 and a half, 1.1 approximately. A lot lower still. But remember, I started talking about this, well, way before the end of June. Next, heating oil. A little higher high, very slightly, and a slightly lower close. No big deal. But it is at resistance, which I started to talk about yesterday, if not earlier. So, resistance is stopping the rally. I wouldn't be surprised to see it dribble back down here to 2.23. I love the fact that the top of the market is a gigantic bearish engulfing ER sell signal. I'm still looking for a bit of a dip now because resistance is stopping the rally. I wasn't sure about it yesterday. Could have gone a little bit either way, but now a little bit higher, couldn't hold, lower close, at resistance. Yep, I think it's going to be dipping down some. Next, we've got gold, New York metals. Outside up day implies it's going to come right back up to the resistance area, back up to here. So I'm looking for a move back up to approximately 34.81 and maybe 35.30-ish. Next, we're coming back up out of an old pennant, a flat top right triangle, and we also got above and closed above the bear trend line across the tops. Definite breakout of a bear trend line, definite new highs for a few weeks, and a new high close for a few weeks. Now I'm going to erase this line because it's been broken and I don't think it's going to become important. And I'm now looking for the new high testing at, say, 40. Yeah, 40 and maybe even higher. Next, we've got a new high, but not a new high close, close. And it is trying to stay above resistance levels, but not succeeding yet. I think there's a chance that platinum could rally a little bit more, but I'm not too sure about it. Next, well, copper went up a little today. I got nothing bullish to say about it until and if we close above 4.5. Now, if that happens, then I could expect a pretty damn decent rally. But I don't know that it's going to ever happen. Well, not in my near future, I don't think. So that could come up to 4.9, but it's got to get over and stay over 4.5 first. Grain markets. Very important commentary. I want to stress there could be a major bottom developing, and it developed in the last couple of days. A little earlier than soybeans with a bullish engulfing ER buy signal on August 11th that has been working great. Got up to resistance, to it and through it. Had a little bearish engulfing sell signal that didn't really work. Because when they don't work, you usually get a move in the opposite direction that you thought it was supposed to go pretty substantially. Yesterday, it made a new high and a new high close, and there's a little bit more follow-through up today. Not much, but some. Next, resistance level, 1075. Now, that's going to be profoundly important because that will be a new high since February, most of the year. Then it doesn't have very far to go to make a new high above approximately 11. That is even more profound by a long shot because you will be making a new high higher than the highs made at 1102 and a half-ish since September, a year ago almost. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 significant bottoms. Actually, it looks like a pretty good cycle, doesn't it? They're about the same distance apart. So that should be, if it happens, which I think it's going to, a major long-term bullish breakout, which I think would get up to 1231 and maybe more. Now, what kind of information that's bullish can I back this up with the other grains? Soybean oil had a gigantic bullish engulfing yesterday, right smack dab at the neckline of a large head and shoulder bottom that is back in force, baby. And it ran up quite a bit more today after yesterday's shot in the arm. Good adrenaline. I think it's about to get above 57.80, and that is going to push it toward its minimum upside objective of 62. I think I've been saying 6262. Yeah, give or take, a little above 62. And that's what I'm looking for. Next, we have meal, which has rallied up more and gotten into a new high since June. But it is overbought and it is at resistance. That does not necessarily mean it's going to stop, but it's a little likely. So it could go sideways or down a little and then start to get back up into the resistance area, which was exactly today's high, and it closed lower. So if you like support and resistance, I show it to you all the time. No guarantee it's going to work exactly. This is a good example of it working. And we have a bullish engulfing almost at the bottom of the market in corn, and that was already a week ago. It made a little bit more progress to the upside today. Coming up good. I want to see it come up all the way to close this gap, stay there, and push even further. But it is rallying. That's good, and it's nowhere near overbought. That allows for a little more elbow room to the upside with no problems. And wheat had a bullish engulfing just 2 days ago. Nice rally yesterday, not great, but some. A little bit of a dip today, no big deal. The fail-safe stop is below the low of Wednesday by a couple of ticks or a little more if you want, but just generally slightly below Wednesday's low. A close higher than yesterday's high would be very good. Stronger, the better. So far, this reversal is doing fine. Okay, Shell, stock. Nice rally, probably because of the Fed, Powell, and the overall market, of course. But resistance is overhead. Let's see if it can get up to the 73.80 level and what happens next. I don't have a lot of confidence in this because I don't have a lot of confidence in the stock market indexes. Next, a little bit of a feeble rally today in Apple. That's not very impressive. We're still in a wide area of resistance because we came from below it, came to the top of it, got overbought, slipped back. So we're kind of trapped at the moment between a rock and a hard spot, the top and bottom of this resistance zone. A little support at the bottom of it, a little resistance at the top of it. Next, nice rally, nothing super special in Tesla. It did get back into the pennant, and now it bounced right back out of it again. Interesting that the low on Wednesday was right smack at the bottom of the pennant, which is nice. The bull trend line has some, good leftover residual effects on support. That's good. The bear trend line, we went above, came down to it, went below it. Now we're back up above it again. So actually, I think I'm going to delete that bear trend line, which was the top of a pennant formation, which was very handy for a while. Delete. Now I've only got the bull trend line and resistance levels above. Looking for a little bit more of a rally, but I'm not very sure about this. NVIDIA, bullish engulfing today. Don't take it too lightly. Now NVIDIA, that says it's going to make a new high for the whole trend. So I'm looking for a test of 184.25 and 184.5. The high was exactly 184.48 and more because of the bullish engulfing. I don't really want to say that because I'm not bullish on the indexes overall. But here you go. I've got to trust my signals. Looking for a test of the top and probably new highs. MES, we're back to the beginning. You guys have a great weekend and profitable trading to you.